Colt Cabana, thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
We talk to all sorts of creators. This is a show about what it's like to be a creator in this economy. And we've talked to stand-ups and improvisers and writers and directors and YouTubers. We have not spoken to a professional wrestler. So this will be a treat.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to represent my people, I guess.
Our sample of one. I'm completely ignorant about most kinds of wrestling. So I'll take your experience as just hallmark of everything. Is that right?
Okay, that's fine. But I think you should start with, when it comes to wrestling, I'm completely ignorant. Because at first I just heard, I'm completely ignorant. I was like, oh, God, what am I doing on this podcast?
What have you walked into?
Okay. When it comes to wrestling, I mean, Mike and I just had a very short conversation where I got some basics, because all I really came into this conversation knowing previous to 30 minutes ago was having worked at Gawker.
Nice.
So,
at the epicenter of a giant wrestling controversy.
I knew a lot about one particular wrestler.
Oh, you're one of the bad. So you would be called a heel in this business.
Well, Hulk Hogan would consider me a heel. Yes. So actually, that lawsuit happened after I left, but I was a Gawker person, and that is my main exposure to professional wrestling beyond seeing it on TV.
Sure, but in the vagueness of what this is and what we'll be talking about, just in the aspect of it, especially on what scene I was within for 20 years. I mean, it's not the same, but it can be the same idea as painter, chef, artist, musician, comedian, so on and so forth. And when people realize that, then I've noticed in my career, in my life, I get a little bit of a new respect. But when people just think of the guy's fake fighting and in pantyhose or whatever, then the respect is down, it's out the window. But when you put it in the aspect of just like everybody else, when you play, when you're cooking for 4 people or you're playing music for 4 people and you're trying to do the next gig, and it's that whole cycle, then, essentially you would know what a wrestler is and what we do, kind of, if that makes sense.
That brings us to our first question.
Yeah.
Now that you've explained, you are just like all of us, a creative in the gig economy.
We will start with the first question we ask every guest on our show, and I do have a strong feeling I know the answer to this, but we ask everyone who comes on the show, when's the last time that you were worried about covering your monthly expenses?
So I mean, a little bit about me is, let's see, I started wrestling in 1999, and I went, and in the middle of college, I finished college in 2002. I became a teaching assistant for 2 years. And then after that second year, I said to myself, okay, I'm making $6,000 a year wrestling. I think I could do this as a full-time job. But it's weird. To be totally honest, I don't think there was ever a time where I was worried about making my bills. And I say that in the sense of, I've always been kind of an 80% saver. I've always knew that I wanted to do this for my, I knew I wanted to do this as my job. And I was, I was going to do it I was going to go as hard as I possibly could to make sure that I do this as my full-time job. And I understood from a very young age the corners that I would cut financially and monetarily and emotionally and relationship wise, in that sense. And so, and it was hammered into me with my Jewish guilt and coming from a good, area, I guess, or a nice, the Chicago suburbs where, where people that I went to school with at 24 were, becoming doctors and lawyers and real estate people. And I was like, oh, I drove to Kentucky last night for $50. And my life's better than yours, by the way. Let it be known, I'm living the best life right now. So I always put myself in a position where I don't know, where I was never behind on bills. So like I knew I wanted to be a wrestler. So I knew like before I could be a wrestler full time, I would have to have X amount in the bank. And I knew that I would have to have my bills so low that if I only made $400 that month, that would be great. And, you know, I made $500 this month. So that's an extra 100. I can make $100 less the next month. And I've always kind of been in that mindset, which would lead you like to my revolution of my life, to which like I've weirdly become, you know, I became very successful without like a big machine by just being a gig person, which is, you know, because I was trying to like outdo my money, you know, like every step of the way. Like even though I needed $400 to live, if I made $450 that month, I knew then the next month I only needed $350 to live. And then if I made $700, it's like, oh my God. And then that just kept on going and snowballing from a very young age.
You might be, so you're the most unconventional creative we've had on so far. You might have the most conventional story about how you managed to become a creative in terms of like, you managed your money well. Like you saw this as a gig, right? Yeah. And understood the balance sheet part of it, like right from the beginning.
Which comes from my mother, who always said, have a backup plan, you know, like, and then also in my mind when I knew at 23, when I said I'm going to do this full time and not have a second, a backup or a job, a real job, you know, a fake job. I always said to myself, well, at 30, if I don't become successful, I will go back and get my teaching career, you know, and I don't know what successful was. I didn't know at the time, but I just said like, if this isn't a thing, I'll go back. And so like, that was always kind of powerful too. But yes, the dollars have always been in my mind, and the spreadsheet and the balance of that have always been in my mind, which I don't know if, it could maybe be weird or unconventional or conventional. I don't know.
I mean, I imagine that's atypical even amongst wrestlers, right? To be that financially responsible.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And especially, you know, I'm with a company now called AEW, and we're on television, and I'm watching all these 23-year-olds get 6-figure, you know, yearly contracts. And I try to pull them all aside. I'm like, guys, are we putting our money into a 401? Are we diversifying? Are we, you know, like, because I wanted someone to say that to me back then, or like kind of teach me that way, and no one really did. And or people tried to, because I remember like the bank being like, you've got a good amount of money, like you need to put your money in the market. I'm like, I can't put my money in the market because what if I get hurt? I'm going to need this money. Like so like I didn't understand it, but I did understand that this was the only thing I was going to do, and I need to like hoard the money. So when I get hurt for 3 years or whatever, I can then live off of that, and I don't have to get a real job.
So your plan was to, you know, put it all into wrestling at 23. And you said if you're 30 and you're not successful, then you will go back and get a teaching credential. Where were you in your career when you turned 30? Like what was that part of your life actually like? Where were you when you turned that age?
Well, at 26 going on 27, I got signed by the WWE, which was, so I was totally doing gigs by myself from 18 turning 19 to 26, traveling the world. Everything was, you know, then it wasn't even like checks or Zelle or anything. That was like literally just collecting cash and putting it under my mattress for sure. And I still have some of that mattress money, like sitting around. Yeah. So at 26, I got signed with WWE. So like in that aspect, it was like, oh, I'm on the road to what you're supposed to be doing, which is funny because I do tell the story of at 26, when I signed with WWE, the biggest wrestling company in the world, I actually took a 50% pay cut of what I was doing in the gig economy, or, you know, as an independent wrestler, because as an independent wrestler, I would make my own gigs. You know, someone would book me for a Friday, someone would book me for a Saturday, someone would book me for a Sunday. I would fly, you know, all around. There was no contracts or anything. And I was doing so well, and I was collecting all these gigs because I was and am a total hustler. Like I just, you know, I hustle as hard as I can. And so, you know, I'll be transparent. I think in 2006 or 2005, 2006, that last year, I think I made $65,000.
Wow.
In 2006, and then I signed to WWE for $750 a week, which is like 32,000 or something like that.
So almost half.
Yeah.
So why did you sign? Is that an investment in yourself, as they say, to sign with WWE? Because eventually the checks get a lot larger.
That's what I said. I'm not going to become a
Or
millionaire.
that's what you thought.
Yeah, like I made 65,000, and at that time that was like probably one of the best to be doing that as an independent wrestler. Not the best, but like, you know, there's definitely a ceiling. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to make $1 million a year or whatever it is, unless I go to the WWE. So it's just something I have to do because I have to give it a shot. And and at that time you're like, that's the goal. You know, no one really knows.
And then you didn't end up staying there very long.
Yeah, I got fired. Yeah.
Okay.
So what was that transition like for you when you think you're at the finish
I want to know why
line?
he got fired. I mean,
Well-
we have to stop how he got fired.
Well, they brought me up to television and they named me Scotty Goldman, Jewish warrior. And,
Oh no.
Yeah, that did happen.
Oh no.
guess who the world isn't ready to support on World Wrestling Entertainment?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Swing and a miss from Creative Services.
That is quite the move, the theatrical decision.
Thank you. That was my one mistake. I always say the story is I had this meeting with Vince McMahon and he's like, tell me about yourself. And I'm like, I come from Chicago. I love comedy. I'm Jewish. I love entertainment.
You should
I
have
study
never said you were
wrestling. Yeah. And like his brain
Jewish,
heard
you
one
say.
thing. Yes. One. Yeah.
Who do people really want to cheer
Yeah.
for?
Oh, I can see it
Who does
now.
Middle America? Who is the hero that Middle America has been
Yes,
waiting for?
Correct. As I tour West Virginia.
Do you have any thoughts of you know how that might have gone different if you had a different gimmick? Because it seems like so much of how it went was just based on that.
Yeah.
I think realistically, I mean,
now I'm thinking about what was the gimmick? Like,
Oh, I was
There's
your,
like a Star
your
of
local
David
friendly
involved?
Jewish man. Yeah. It's so, I mean, there's so many wild things that they did for me. Like on the big Titan shot, when your entrance comes out, like they flashed the Star of David.
No, you're shitting me. Oh my
And they
god.
gave me a YouTube show and like their music was like Hava Nagila and they would do little like oi, like little noises for him. It was, yeah. What a time. 2008 that was. But ultimately, you know, like I could have gotten past that and become, I don't whatever, but I don't know. It just wasn't meant to be. I don't like to sit on it too much, Mike, but it just wasn't, like I don't blame the character. There's not much I do blame. What I do know, and it's nice for the show to tell you, is that I did get fired. I was 29, and then by 30, I started becoming the most successful I ever was, and that was due to totally becoming independent and becoming my own boss, and saying that I'd never want anybody else to be able to say you're fired ever again to me, because I hated that, and I put all my eggs in the WWE basket, and when that got taken away, I found myself being like, should I put my resume on monster.com? I don't have a resume. I've been traveling to, Charleston, North Carolina for, $20 my whole life. Like, what resume? And so at 30, I started my podcast. I started doing my documentaries. I started doing YouTube. I started integrating comedy. I started making so many different baskets for myself of not only like things that I'm able to do, but also monetarily pulls. And so if one of those baskets got taken away, then I would be able to have 5 or 6 other baskets. And yeah, from 30 to 40, I really set myself up for the rest of my life. And through 100% not signing a contract to anyone, anything, or anybody. And my mom was still like, you can get a real job. Like, Walgreens corporate is still hiring,